I seem to like what they're doing as of right now when it comes to Zebec. Now, even though nothing I say is financial advice, what do I mean by this? And of course, clearly, I'm not talking about the price, but I'm talking about the fundamentals because, come on, the price isn't doing the best. But here's the thing. When it comes to compliance, this is something that I am a fan of when it comes to Zebec because we already know what they did with SOC2. That was pretty impressive. We already know what they did with MICA, or should I say MICA, and that was pretty massive. And again, MICA in Europe, that's very well known. So when I take a look at something like what Zebec did, I am very impressed. But then at the same time, what do they have in progress? We already know about ISO 20022, but the thing is, oftentimes people don't really talk about something called FCA, which is also what they're working towards. Because let's take a look at what that is, right? FCA stands for Financial Conduct Authority, and it is in the United Kingdom. Now, if I take a look at it, from what I can see at least, FCA, again, the Financial Conduct Authority, is a financial regulatory body in the United Kingdom. So I find this pretty impressive because even if I take a look at that, right, let's say FCA, we've already seen their presence in the United Kingdom. We've already seen, like for instance, just kind of the notoriety of it. Now, I get it. It may not be as popular, I think, generally speaking, because I don't see many people talking about it. They keep talking about ISO 20022, but we have to consider how Zebec, they have a presence in London, right? They have a presence in New York and San Francisco. So I think having something like that in the UK is hypothetically pretty impressive if they could actually achieve that. So yeah, this is something that I am, looking forward towards maybe on top of ISO 20022. Now, in the grand scheme of things, what is more talked about in this sense, I think more so ISO 20022 because it's kind of more well known, right? We've seen aspects of that when it comes to Stellar, when it comes to XDC, so it's just more well known. But when it comes to FCA, sometimes it's not really talked about that much. But I think that just the aspect of Zebec even being focused on this in the first place, I think is pretty impressive. Other projects out there, this is not really in the top of their priority, but it kind of feels like that to me when it comes to Zebec. Now, in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to Zebec trying to do this, is it going to make it fundamentally more impressive in terms of the use case? I mean, I'm not too sure about that, but in terms of kind of the reputation, in terms of kind of the validity, now that's a different case, right? Because Zebec, it's already focused on payments, global trade and finance, AI-based PayFi, RWAs, or should I say real-world assets. We already know those aspects. This right here is just kind of like the cherry on top. That's the way to take a look at it. Now, when are they going to be able to exactly achieve that? I mean, that's beyond me. I mean, I don't know because I'm not a part of their team. And also, this type of stuff sometimes could take quite a while. But I'm just saying, when it comes to just the fundamental aspect of this, I seem to like what they're doing. Again, even though nothing I say is financial advice, and even though I'm not telling anyone to do anything. Now, when I take a look at something like Zebec, people like to tell me, well, no one's really going to care about it because they like to say, oh, it's kind of boring. They say it's not that interesting. And of course, it's going to be dependent on a case-by-case basis. And I'll agree that Zebec isn't necessarily the most popular project out there. It's not necessarily, I think, the most revolutionary. But at the same time, Zebec, I think, represents something to me that I haven't really been able to kind of discover elsewhere, at least as of right now, in a sense where it's kind of like a miniature version, the way I take a look at it, of like Stellar, or should I say even XDC, but then it has a Solana aspect. Now, people may be thinking, like, what do you mean by this? Now, again, I'm not telling anyone to do anything, but then Solana is a pretty popular layer 1 blockchain. I mean, it's very massive in the grand scheme of things, but it hasn't really become like so mainstream yet where it's become like an Ethereum type of kind of reputation. So that's why I would describe it that way. But I'm just saying, Solana, for quite a while, it's not really known for like these type of projects that have hypothetically the best utility. I mean, we take a look at what has been historically pretty popular when it comes to Solana. It's the memes, right? It's the meme coins. It's not something that has usually, the way you take a look at it, something that has A+ fundamentals. Like for instance, if I just ask a lot of my friends, what is Solana known for? They'll, talk about it. If they actually know Solana, they'll probably say, okay, layer 1 blockchain, and then they'll say, oh, book a meme or something like that, or like, some other meme coin, right? They'll probably say that. But then the thing is, do people often talk about Pyth, right? Or should I say the Pyth network, which is a blockchain oracle for market data? I don't see much people talking about that when they think about Solana. Do they think about Render, right? Render is a different project. But I'm saying, do they think about that? Not really. Do people think about aspects of Zebec when it comes to a project that has a vibe of Solana? Not really, right? So then the thing is, when it comes to Solana, as popular as it is and as up and coming as it is, it just hasn't had that kind of vibe of a project that is known for having these type of fundamentally amazing things on it in some cases. It's known for fun projects, right? Projects that are kind of fun and all this, but not really known for kind of the more quote unquote serious type of projects. So I feel like if, let's say, there is that kind of hypothetical attention for Solana during an altcoin season, who knows? And let's say they look beyond the fun projects and see something that has more of the utility type of things, right? Who knows? Could ZBCN hypothetically be something that is maybe looked into? I mean, who knows? But it wouldn't necessarily surprise me because just how many projects out there that have a Solana aspect are really known for like the best of the best fundamentals, you know? Like, first of all, I think about like, okay, Jupiter, right? Jupiter is okay in terms of the popularity. I think about Pith, I think about Render, I think about ZBCN in a certain sense. But then at the same time, that's not like 5. And sure, there's some others out there, but I don't think there was like 20 or 30 very popular projects that have a Solana aspect that are really known for that A+ fundamentals. That's the way you take a look at it. It's a different case when it comes to, let's say, in the situation of Ethereum. Ethereum, people can name 20, 30 utility driven projects that are pretty popular. If we take a look at in aspects of BNB, the BNB chain, it's very popular, right? But when it comes to Solana, it really hasn't had that type of moment. So this is why I'm still waiting and I'm still staying patient. Now, I'm not telling anyone to do anything, but this is just the way to take a look at it. And now people like to ask me, why am I still a fan, even though 10 cents is around a 32x from here? Clearly, the pullback has been pretty extensive and it hasn't been doing the best. But really, in the grand scheme of things, it's not only just ZBCN. Bitcoin is still hovering around that 80-something thousand range, right? It's not really doing much. However, if let's say like Bitcoin goes back to like 100 grand, something like that, like the sentiment could change completely. Even if there wasn't an altcoin season, it could be a totally different case. So this is why I just haven't given up. The thing is, it's not like the last time I saw, for instance, Bitcoin at above 100 grand was like a year ago. A year ago, Bitcoin never reached 100 grand. You know what I mean? So when I take a look at something like ZBCN, sure, the market cap as of right now, like it had a pretty good resurgence a little bit because of the, announcement they made regarding ISO 20022 and that kind of whole vibe. But I'm just saying, when it comes to where it is as of right now, like in the grand scheme of things, the market cap is back to the point that it was just basically back in, July. So it's not really doing the best actually in the grand scheme of things despite the pullback. Now, it's not as low as what it once was like back in early July where it was like around that $215 million market cap range, but now it's kind of around 300, really not the best either in my perspective. So in the grand scheme of things, I am still a fan just because I feel like without even an altcoin season, ZBCN was able to do what it did not too long ago. The market cap was like over 500 million at one point. Now, there's been a pullback ever since then, but it hasn't been having a pullback in a way where I've seen a lot of other projects out there, because some other projects out there, they're now reaching like new all-time lows, and also in some cases, they're reaching levels in which they haven't reached in like basically 5 years, which is actually pretty, I think, bizarre for me to see in some cases. But you know what? That is the altcoin space. But when it comes to ZBCN, it hasn't even reached back to what it did back in January. You know what I mean? Like in terms of market cap. Keep in mind, back in January of this year, the market cap of ZBCN was slightly under 60 million. Like it hasn't even gone back to that. While some other projects out there, they've pretty much achieved all-time lows or not at the same time, new all-time lows, and even in some cases as well, back what they were around 5 years ago. Now that could be viewed two ways though, because if my intention is a dollar cost average and I can dollar cost average into a project at basically 2020 levels in 2025, depending on the project, of course, I don't know if I would necessarily complain about that, but that's just the way to take a look at it. Like for instance, if someone told me what I personally want to dollar cost average into ZBCN again at below like a $70 million market cap range, I wouldn't complain about that. Now, the pullback would be, of course, pretty extensive, so in the short term, it would not be a good feeling whatsoever, but I'm just saying, I wouldn't necessarily mind, but who knows? I'm not saying, like, hypothetically, ZBCN is going to do this or do that. I'm not saying that, but this is just kind of my perception. But then again, do I mind dollar cost averaging as of right now? Once a month, I don't mind, but I'm not going to do it like, all at once like that. I'm not going to do that, but I'm not telling anyone to do anything. Like, no matter what ZBCN does, I'm just doing it once a month. I mean, that's kind of it. I just treat it like, it's something I do once a month, and then, yeah, that's pretty much about it. Now, I'm not telling anyone to do anything, but that's just kind of my whole vibe when it comes to ZBCN. My intention isn't try to find, or should I say, let me correct myself there. My intention isn't trying to find the perfect exact moment, because I don't think I'm going to be able to. Like, for instance, back when ZBCN was like around that $250 million market cap range in early July, like at that exact precise moment, was there probably some individuals out there that dollar cost average into that? Maybe, right? I mean, like, I can't control that though. You know what I mean? Like, the thing is, I will not be able to know that that is the exact moment. Maybe if I happen to dollar cost average at that exact moment, it's just kind of like coincidental. But in a lot of cases, I'm not going to be able to know that that is that precise moment. You know what I mean? So then, personally, for me, it's all about just incrementally doing it. Personally, in my situation, I'm not speaking on anyone's behalf, but I treat it like a marathon. It's not a sprint for me. Like, I'm not going to know what ZBCN does tomorrow or something like that. Like, that's beyond me. I can't control that. The only thing I can do is control myself. So, yeah. The thing that is going to stay, like, within my control throughout this whole time is just personally me. That's it. The market, that is completely out of my control. Like, Zebec was a project that already existed before I even knew what it was. You know what I mean? Like, they don't ask me, hey, should we do this or do that? No. Like, the thing is, when I started to, acquire Zebec, did I ask them for kind of input? No. Like, I mean, I just kind of researched and that was kind of about it. So the thing is this, when it comes to something like projects within this space, I can't control any of that. Like, all these projects that I believe in, they already existed before I even knew what they were. You know what I mean? So then the thing is, all I can do is just control myself, and that's pretty much about it. But in the meantime, though, I do like what I'm seeing when it comes to ZBCN, just in terms of the amount of holders and also in terms of what they're doing fundamentally. In terms of the price, I can't control that. I'm going to have to wait for maybe if there is an altcoin season. However, ZBCN as of right now, still at above slightly 88,000 holders. That's kind of impressive considering the pullback. If someone said, hey, it's going to go down around 60,000 holders at this point, I wouldn't be surprised, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Why is that? Well, clearly, around 88,000 people still hold it. I mean, that's probably the reason why. But yeah, that's just my point of view. Now, the thing is, ZBCN isn't necessarily the biggest project out there, even though it's actually ranked top 140 in terms of market cap. But it's not necessarily the smallest either. Now, why don't I mind? Well, it's because personally for me, I am looking for projects that don't necessarily have the biggest market cap out there, but don't necessarily have the smallest out there. I'm not into microcaps. Now, a microcap in theory could hypothetically do something percentage-wise during an altcoin season in which ZBCN might not be able to do, just because the market cap is pretty massive, even despite the pullback at around 300 million. Just because by nature a microcap has a way smaller market cap. But the thing is, do I know which microcap is going to do this or do that? Like, a lot of them are not really that established. A lot of them, I don't know. For one that makes it, right? A bunch really don't. Now, could ZBCN make it? I mean, I have no idea. The thing is, I can only just believe in the concept and the project, and that's it. But at least historically, I've seen ZBCN do pretty okay, even without an altcoin season. And I do see how there's around 88,000 holders, and I do see the listings, and I do see what Zebec is trying to do when it comes to compliance. That's all I can see. But when I see something like that, it's just not something I would personally want to give up on, even though I can't speak on anyone's behalf. But also at the same time, when it comes to ZBCN, like, even without the best listings out there, like, we already saw what it did back in June, right, of 2025, which of course isn't even like 6 months ago at this point, but I'm just saying. that was without the best listings. Like, arguably, the listings are better right now. But then the thing is, the market cap is actually lower, in my perspective. Also, on top of that, the attention, I think, actually, in terms of the fundamentals, seems to be a little bit better to me in terms of just the presence. Because back then, ZBCN was just kind of viewed as, oh, a miniature version of Stellar, and that's kind of it. But as of right now, it's beginning to shift to kind of, sort of this project that has an established sort of presence within the payments and global trade and finance space. Because for quite a while, there's pretty much two popular options, and that's it. Then XDC kind of came along in terms of the whole vibe and popularity and all this, and then it was kind of considered, right? That whole vibe kind of came along the way. But the thing is, for quite a while, it was just pretty much three projects, and then two out of the three is XDC and Stellar, Now, there's beginning to kind of have this emergence, I would say, of projects beyond that within this space that are still pretty kind of popular as well. Not nowhere near as popular as them, but they're kind of up and coming. Like, for instance, like a ZBCN, like a XCN, or should I say Onyx. We take a look at XPR and Swiftcoin. The thing is, though, when it comes to the remaining projects, if you remove, like, let's say Stellar, XDC, basically, if you remove, like, let's say, arguably the top projects within this space in terms of popularity, if we take a look at something like that, right, we will see how ZBCN arguably is more popular, I think, right now than XCN. Also, something like Swiftcoin and as well as XPR. Because the thing is, XCN historically has achieved a bigger market cap at one point, at around $1 billion, not too long ago, right? We saw that. But as of right now, because of the pullback, ZBCN is actually arguably more popular than that. Now, Zebec, fundamentally, it seems like they're trying to do more. Onyx seems more of like they're just trying to focus on their layer 1 blockchain called Goliath, which they launched the testnet already this year, but they're still waiting for the mainnet in Q1 of 2026, so it's still next year. But we're almost in 2026, so it's not even really that far away. But besides that point, when I take a look at something like that, because of the extensive pullback when it comes to XCN, ZBCN has pretty much become that most popular option beyond the top three projects in the space of global trade and finance and as well as payments. Which, in the grand scheme of things, it's still having a pullback, but I'm saying, generally speaking, things are just having a pullback. So this is why I haven't given up when it comes to ZBCN. When I take a look at this space, I am still a fan of it. I have not given up. But, ultimately, what else can I do other than just stay patient? And that's pretty much about it. But yeah, I just wanted to make a video real quick to just kind of explain my situation, or should I say my personal perspective and my perception when it comes to what I see when it comes to Zebec. Fundamentally, I'm still a fan. In terms of the price, I'm going to have to wait and see. But it seems like to me, I am still a fan. Because even we take a look at Circle, which is the creator of USDC. Are they still a backer when it comes to Zebec? Last time I checked, yeah. They also supposedly hold a pretty significant amount of ZBCN. And then on top of that, Solana Ventures is a backer when it comes to Zebec. So when I take a look at something like that, if they haven't given up what I give up, I'm not going to follow everything they do. But I'm just saying, when it comes to this, it just doesn't give me like a vibe of hypothetically giving up. This is just my point of view. But again, only time will tell. I'm going to stay patient. I'm going to hold, even though I'm not telling anyone to anything. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. However, I want to say thank you for watching. I hope y'all have a nice day. It's Malik the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.